This podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered or interpreted as legal or professional advice.
Welcome back to another episode of Mika Minutes. I'm your host, Mika Domingo. My guest in this episode is Kristen Tabone, an associate attorney from my own firm, Domingo Law Group. Kristen works closely with me on estate planning, probate, trust administration, litigation, and conservatorship and guardianship matters. She's passionate about helping our clients navigate these often complex areas with clarity and confidence. I've invited her here today to talk about trust funding, an essential but often overlooked part of estate planning. Welcome to Mika Minutes, Kristen.
Thank you for having me, Mika.
Let's start with the basics. What does it actually mean to fund a trust?
So, funding a trust means actually transferring ownership of your assets into the name of your trust. So instead of you owning something individually, the trust becomes the legal owner of those assets. But as trustee of your trust, you still have management and control of the assets that you want to place in your trust.
And why isn't it enough to just sign a trust document? What else needs to be done after that?
So signing a trust document is just step one. It creates the trust, but it doesn't actually or automatically move anything into it. To make the trust effective, you have to do things like retitle your assets, update account ownership, and sometimes change beneficiary designations so that the trust actually controls those assets.
Can you talk about the types of assets that can be placed into a trust?
There's a wide variety of different assets that can go into a trust. These could include real estate, bank accounts, investment accounts, business interests, and even personal property like jewelry or artwork. There are some assets that are like retirement accounts that are usually handled a bit differently. They can still be coordinated with the trust through beneficiary designation, so they can still go into your trust.
Quite a variety.
Definitely.
Let's talk about the process. So how do you transfer title into a trust? For example, how would someone transfer real property into a trust?
Transferring title into a trust really depends on the type of asset. Generally, though, you're changing the legal ownership from your individual name to the name of your trust. This might involve signing documents, working with financial institutions, or recording paperwork with a county office. Now, for real property in particular, you'll need to sign a trust transfer deed. This deed transfers title from you, however you own title right now, to yourself, or yourselves if there are multiple people who are creating the trust. You'll start transferring from yourself to yourself as a trustee. Our office prepares trust transfer deeds as part of our estate planning package for our clients.
And what about financial accounts? How are the accounts transferred into a trust?
So for bank or investment accounts, usually people call the financial institution and request a change of ownership into the trust. These institutions generally have their own version of forms. So once these forms are completed, the account will be retitled into the name of the trust.
So now let's get into why this really matters. Why is proper trust funding so important?
So funding your trust is so important because that's what makes the trust actually work. If assets are properly funded into your trust, they can avoid probate, they can be managed more easily if you become incapacitated, and ultimately they can be distributed according to your wishes after your death.
So what happens if someone signs a trust that lists all the assets they want to put into it, but they don't properly transfer title into the trust?
If assets aren't transferred into the trust, unfortunately, the trust does not control them. That often means that those assets have to go through probate, which the trust was designed to avoid. In some cases, it can also create confusion or delays for loved ones who are just trying to manage the estate.
So they really need to make sure after they execute the documents that they're doing their trust funding.
Yes, generally we try to tell clients, as soon as you sign your trust, please go fund your trust.
And we certainly can help with that.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for joining me on this episode. For more information about this episode's topic, we can provide you with a PDF on what you need to know about trust funding. Please email us at legal.team@msdomingolawgroup.com, or you can always call our office, 925-891-5006. Stay tuned for my next episode of Mika Minutes.